Hello world, welcome to the stream. Today we are going to be working on our inventory system, so adding items to our dungeon. I think maybe today we'll just get through adding items into the dungeon. We're going to do that randomly, kind of like we handled creating monsters and putting them in our dungeon. We're going to do a similar technique for our items. And then, if we get to it today, we will start building out the kind of inventory management screen. But I'm not sure that we'll. That might be a bit too much to tackle in one day. Let's see how far we get. All right. So just to catch folks up, or if you're new to the stream, I'm just going to show you where we're at right now. Alright, so this is what our game looks like. We've got a launch screen, and if you remember, I spent a bunch of time on being able to askify a bitmap image. So right now it launches in bitmap mode, great, that's a cool graphic, but if I hit the G button, it will turn it into ASCII characters, which I think is just kind of a cool technique. Put it in there for giggles, and I think it turned out really well. And we'll probably use it several times at different points throughout the game. But let's start a new game. This is the only thing that works right now. We don't have load or credits screen yet. So we've generated a random dungeon and put monsters in it for now. Let's just crawl through. We've got a couple goblins here, and then we've got our log window is down here. We've got some stats displayed down here. You can see right now my attack strength is 5, my defense is 2. These numbers in parentheses are modifiers. So things like items will affect those modifiers. Right now they're just set to 0 because we don't have anything that affects the modifiers, but once we have items and are able to equip those items, we'll see those modifiers change. Doing some damage, you can see the health bars going down. And we're going to get killed by goblins. Okay, there we go. So we've died. Here's our end game screen. Again, we've got that technique where we've taken an ASCII or a bitmap image and ASCIified it. And that's the state of the game right now. We've got monsters in our dungeon. We've got combat. But we don't have, right now I guess we're just fighting with our fists because we don't have any weapons, there's no items, and those things are essential for, essential parts of a classic roguelike game. So we're going to rectify that situation today, or at least start to. So what we're going to do first is I think we're going to start by we're going to need a new component type that can be added to our game objects. So I am going to start off by having and we're going to call this one equipment. It'll hold properties related to equipping an item or weapon or armor. It's gonna be fairly broad. Hey Alexi, how's it doing? How's it going today? So we're going to add equipment, and then we can describe our equipment down here. We'll add a new struct. Call it equipment. And so what types of properties do we want to have for our equipment? I was thinking about this a bit, and I think it makes sense. Equipment typically, in typical roguelikes, inventory management, you can't carry everything, so sometimes there's some concept of weight or encumbrance. So I think we'll just have a weight property. I don't know how we're going to use that yet, but let's just add it Oh, first we need our object ID, because we need that for all our components. So the weight, I'm not sure how we're going to use that yet. I think more importantly, we're going to need the concept of, I guess call it like slots for each. Like if I have a sword, I can only really carry one, maybe two swords if I'm a total badass at a time. But like while I'm holding a sword in my hand, I can't also be holding a bow or a mace or any of that sort of thing. So we want some property that allows us to assign an item to a particular part of the body. And so I think, well, and the other thing is certain items can only be used by certain parts of the body. You can't put a helmet on your hand. Well, you could, but that wouldn't be very effective. So we want the concept of like a desired slot, I guess, and then an actual slot where it may be actively equipped. So how do we want to represent the slots? We could just do like a string, or we could do an enum that corresponds to different bits. Let's, well, for the sake of like readability for our data file, just thinking ahead a little bit, let's just make it a string, character string. So we'll do character string for I guess desired slot, and then we need another one for well, maybe we don't need a character. We don't need a character string for that, but we need a bool that's like is equipped. So maybe we can just call this slot. And so then we have a flag that says, is this equipped or not? I'm wondering if we need anything else at the moment for equipment properties, or if that will do it for now. Like things like I don't know. I think some of the other properties are already represented by like our other components. So if a particular item is like a weapon, for example, then it would have not only an equipment component, it would also have a combat component, and that's where we'd be able to set the modifiers here. So it might have like a +2 for an attack modifier, and remember, attack is kind of the damage inflicted. So, well, maybe it'd probably have a lot more than +2 if you're carrying a sword, but basically we'd have all the modifiers in our combat component that would be attached to the item game object. We would have a position, so when we're placing it on the map, it'll have a position, but I think once that item is picked up, we will delete the position component for it. And so a piece of equipment that does not have a position is one that will be carried, that we know is carried by the player. Yeah. So we've got our equipment. We've kind of defined it for now. I think that's a reasonable set of properties. So then there's a couple places that we need to update. We need to add a global list for all of our equipment components. What else? we need to, when we're doing world state, we need to create that list. What else do we need to do? Game object create, update. Okay, so we need to update our update component. Let's just scroll down to the bottom of that one. Here. Case. And we put this stuff in braces so that it has local scope, because you can see we're defining some variables here, and this allows us to define those same variables within the different case statements. Otherwise, we'd have to come up with like different names, and it just kind of keeps it more contained and cleaner. All right, so our comp data, if it's not equal to null, this is kind of boilerplate stuff for each of the components. We're going to do an equipment. And this time it'll... Hey, you! Components. Oops. We'll grab the equipment component. Done. I just take a moment and say how much I enjoy this music. It's an artist that I found on Monster Cat. It's called Pilot. And it reminds me of like 80s synthesizer, like almost like Miami Vice type music, but it's pretty epic. So I hope you guys enjoy it as well. All right, I'm gonna do some copy pasta here, which often gets me into trouble, but let's see what we can do. This stuff up because this is where it's going to go. Alright, so if equip is null, so if there's not already an equipment component hanging off of this particular game object, we're going to create a new equipment component, and we're going to read its data from the component data struct that we were passed. Data, that actually stays component data. So we cast it to an equipment. Struct. And then we're going to do, so object ID is right. We'll grab weight. Sorry, this should all be equip. We only need 4. So we need object ID, we're going to need weight, we're going to need slot, we're going to need is equipped. The weight, grab the slot. Now, equip comps, add equip. So if we added a new one, we're going to insert it into the global list of components, and we're going to assign the object component to the equipment component that we just created. Otherwise, we are going to clear. Otherwise, there already was a component attached to this object for equipment, so we're going to clear it. Okay. So the only problem here is that, let me look and see where else we have this. So we have a character string, and so we can't just copy the pointer, because that's not going to be helpful. The pointer will go away, it will be deallocated, and then our component, when we reference the slot, it will that pointer will be pointing to garbage, and it'll probably crash our app. What we need to do is we need to copy the we need to make a copy of the string and then point to that. And it looks like we're gonna we do that already for visibility. So let me see what we did. So here we can see. I'm just gonna grab this because I'm super lazy, and I'm just gonna copy this. All right, so what we're doing is first we're checking to see if the name is not null. It shouldn't be null, but we don't want to crash if it is. So if it is not null, we allocate enough room for the string plus the null terminator, and then we copy the string from the equipment data structure that we were given. We copy that into our equipment component. And that way, we own that memory. We know it's going to be allocated. Nobody's going to come in and delete something that we're pointing to out from under us. All right, so that should do it for the equipment component update. What else do we have? We've got game object destroy that we need to do. I've got to do clean up other components, so as we do it, okay, component, we shouldn't have to do anything there. And then we're into our game code. So I think because equipment, so like we're not going to add components, equipment components to our floor. We're not going to add them to any NPCs or monsters. We're not going to add it to a wall. It doesn't make sense to add that component to those types of game objects, so we're not going to do that. And so I think that might be all the maintenance and kind of groundwork we need to do. Let me just... Oh yes, there was the problem. Just did a quick test compile. We didn't call it name, we called it slot. So there's copy pasta bites you sometimes. Build real quick. Okay, we're building. Let's just make sure our world starts up and everything looks okay. All right, we've got our... Okay, it looks like our world initialized properly and all the memory's good. Okay, that looked good. Hey, Igsky. When did I start the game? So this is actually day 33 of the stream. And so each stream, I usually stream between an hour and 2 hours per stream. So roughly I'm like 60, somewhere between 60 and 80 hours into the game, I think. Because I do work on the game a bit off stream. But most of the time off stream, I'm just kind of thinking about if I have to think through an algorithm or think about data structures that I might want to use. That's what I tend to do off of stream. Speaking of data structures, I got a new book that I'm looking forward to reading. I was looking for a good data structures book for straight C. It's hard to find those these days. I found this on Amazon. It seemed to be pretty well recommended. It's called Data Structures Using C. And the author is Rima Thareja, or Thareja. Anyway, it's Indian author, and it looks. I started reading. I read the first chapter or so, which was basically just like a rehashing intro to C. But I looked through the rest of the book, and it looks. I mean, the information is very densely packed. The layout is. It's very dense. It doesn't have as much white space as I would have liked, but the content itself looks really good. So I'm excited about that. I'm gonna read that. Start reading that this week. I was looking for a good data structures text because, you know, it's been years since I went through all the various data structures back in school, and you know, now I'm kind of re-implementing a lot of those from scratch, so it's kind of good to get back and take a refresher course on that via a book. All right, so I think the next step is we've got the component built out for our items. Now we need some way to get them into the game. And so I think what I want to do is basically the same work that I'm doing to get monsters into the game. I think we're going to define the information about our items in a config file, and then as part of the game initialization, we're going to read and parse that config file, and then use the data to we'll work that data into our level generation algorithm. So let me pull up the monsters config file. It's been a while since I looked at this, but it's very straightforward. It's basically, we've got this header line for each section that defines what type of thing is being described, and then we've got several key value pairs that describe the properties of that thing. So in this case, we've got a monster, we've got and then it has properties like a monster ID, a name, and then you can see this is for our visibility component. It's got the glyph and the color. For MV is for our movement component, so speed and frequency. H is health. COM is combat. And then this last bit is the appearance probability, which is how we tell our level generation engine how often something is going to appear on different levels of our dungeon. So we'll have a similar thing. I think this model fits really well for everything, all of the game objects that could appear in our game. So I'd like to apply it to our items. So what I'd like to do is start by creating, we'll create items.cfg. And I think items, I'm going to use that as a catch-all term for both weapons and armor. For weapons, armor, for potions, wands, whatever type of items we decide to have in our game. This is going to encompass all of those. So let's just start with our header. We'll call it item. And then I'm going to grab, because you know how much I like the copy pasta, I'm going to grab the representation of a monster, and then we'll tweak it to be an item. So perhaps we'll have an item ID. I don't actually remember how we're using that for monsters, but we'll keep it for now. We do want a name. Item name. That would be a property to add to our struct. So now that I think about it, perhaps item name and perhaps quantity would be another good thing, because I'm thinking about things like arrows or gold. Let's put, let's just start with a good old sword. What do we want to, what is the traditional sword glyph? I actually don't know. We're gonna have to look that one up. What could we use for a sword? I'm just looking at. We could do something like that. We could use an exclamation point, although I think that's traditionally for potions. So movement doesn't make any sense. Our items aren't going to move on their own volition. Health. Health is not going to make any sense either. We're not going to deal with items deteriorating over time. Combat does make sense, but we're not going to have it affect the attacks. We're going to have it affect the modifiers. Did I change something? I don't even... So you can see we've got our different monsters there, so I think we're with that. Let's look at those properties again for those different components. So what we want, so I'm going to want probably just an attack modifier. Maybe it's a hit modifier too. Let's do that. Let's grab those two. So I don't want... I'm going to want... com underscore to hit modifier, and then com underscore attack. Oh no, sorry, don't want attack. And the attack modifier. Get rid of this comment. Semicolons, don't need those. And these go away. What color is this? This is red, a reddish thing. We kind of want like a gray. Let's do like that. And then our appearance probabilities. So the way this works is up until you read them as pairs. So this is you read this as up until level 3, there's a 50% chance, and then up until level 5. Is that how it is? There's a 10% chance. Yeah. So then between levels 3 and 5, there's a 10% chance, and then between levels 5 and 20, there's a 5% chance. Which for starting items, you know, such as like a basic sword, that might be good enough. All right, so our to hit modifier, we're going to give it a 10% plus to hit, and then we're going to have an attack modifier of 5. It'll give us 5 extra damage for our sword. So that's one item. What else do we have in our... So we need a weight and a slot. So let's... We decided we wanted to add a name, right, to our items. And then a quantity, I think I wanted. I32 is going to be a quantity. How's everyone doing today? Here, Sunday. All right, so we added quantity and name. So we need to make those changes down here as well in our update. One of these for a name as well. So that should be everything. Alright, name, quantity, weight, slot. Is equipped is not going to be something that we're going to store in the config file because that's really a dynamic property that's only for in-game. So name, quantity, weight, and slot. Maybe quantity doesn't make sense as a that doesn't make sense as a property that we would store in the config file either. So perhaps what we want is some property that indicates whether you can find more than one at the same time. Alright, so quantity. Sword. Quantity. Oh, so. Tuning. Wait, is that part of our visibility? Where do we store name? May not need to, then we may be duplicating properties here. Visibility name. I'm going to just, yeah, don't need it there. Quantity and weight. This is just going to be quantity. Slot. So this would be hand. It's the last bit. Weight. I don't know how we're going to use weight yet, so I think I'm just going to assign this a weight of 3 at some arbitrary value that we'll probably come back and change later. So quantity, maybe this would be like the maximum number that you could find. So quantity you could find up, and in this case it's just going to be 1. But maybe for things like arrows or whatever, it would be you know, we could set it to like 20 or something, and then we could do a random number up to that value. And I got some text here. I'm gonna have to bail in a few minutes, unfortunately. Apologize. So let's just see if we can bang this out. Maybe we'll put another one thing. Sword. We'll do I don't know, mace. I don't even know what a mace looks like, what you would do for a mace either. Let's call it like that. Give it a different color, make it a little purplish or something. Hit modifier, this would be perhaps 5 and maybe do 3 damage. Let's just leave the appearance probabilities the same for now. Alright, so that's our config. Pull this out. And we're going to read it from the visibility, so don't need to read it here. Quantity, weight, slot. I must have been here some point in the past. Familiar shapes and sounds at last. The smoke and lights, the crowds amassed. The moon behind skies overcast. I must have been here some point in the past. Familiar shapes and sounds at last. The smoke and lights. Okay, we build. That's good. It's always nice when you don't break stuff. Slot is equipped. So the next thing that we need to do is write the parser, and I think I'll probably just put the to-do in here because unfortunately I gotta cut the stream short. Family calls, family duties. But let's see where that would be. I forget where we do that. So we've got a monster config. What we're gonna do is basically do the same thing for our items. just do define item. Just do just to size our array efficiently. I do basically the same thing. So we're going to read this. Config is an object that I wrote for the monsters. It represents a parsed config file, so it's basically like a bunch of name value pairs. We'll call this item probability. This would be item type count. Max dungeon level. So let's look and see where we're using this. Yep, so this is where we do our parsing. So we'll do item config equals config file parse, and we called it items.cfg. And this is where we're generating the monster appearance probability data. So I'm going to put it to do right here. Item probability. Let's just see. Let's see if our file parses build. All right, so it parsed the file. It would have done it in that world creation routine. So it parsed the file. It doesn't do anything with it yet. We will leave that till next stream. I apologize for cutting the stream short, but you know, sometimes life happens. So just do a quick playthrough. Hey, we actually killed the serpent. Let's get this goblin. Good. Now we got some more goblins coming after us. Run. Okay, take them in the hallway. They can only get us one at a time. We got one of. All right, we got both. Excellent. The goblin, he's gonna get us. Oh, we're getting close. So I think I'd put a rest in here. Is that Z for sleeping? Yeah, so I can kind of regain some health. You see my health bar going up if I sit there and actively rest. I use a turn for that. Oh, now we're gonna get in trouble. Boom. Toast. All right. So that's a quick run through of the game. I am going to call it a day for now. Well, I'll call it a stream. I don't know. I may be back later. I might be able to fit another stream in later today. Perhaps not. If not, I will be back this week. I usually stream evenings between, usually starting between 7 and 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you are interested in catching the next stream, go ahead and hit that follow button. I would really appreciate it. And that way you'll get notifications the next time I stream. Previous episodes are archived on YouTube. If you have any questions in between streams, you can hit me up on Twitter at PDCodes. And again, all the source code is in a GitHub repo. It's right there. And you can grab that and clone it and tweak it or use it as the basis for your own roguelike built from scratch. Have at it, or just follow along with the stream at home next time. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to hit that follow button, and I will catch you next time. Bye-bye.